Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. Grab a drink, take a breath, because what you're about to hear isn't something you'll forget by morning. Last night, my wife left a handwritten note on the bathroom mirror. Not a breakup letter. Not even an apology. Just 2 sentences, scribbled in green eyeliner. I need one night to feel like myself again. I hope you'll understand. I stared at those words for so long, the steam from my shower made the ink start to bleed. We weren't in a fight. We didn't have some screaming match. There was no cheating scandal, at least, not that I knew of. No warning signs carved into our calendar. She just wanted a night. With someone else. And somehow thought I'd understand. Let me back up, not to the beginning, but to the silence. The kind that creeps into your marriage slowly, like mold behind wallpaper. You don't notice it at first. You just start skipping certain questions. Avoiding long hugs. Reaching for your phone when the room gets too quiet. I'm not a dramatic guy. I don't break things. I don't storm out. I whisper when I should shout. That's who I am. My name's not important right now, but I'll tell you this, I've always played the role of safe. Predictable. The guy who brings snacks to the PTA meeting and knows everyone's dog's name on the street. So when she looked me in the eyes 3 nights ago and said, I want one night. No lies. No betrayal. Just freedom. Then I come back, and we're okay. My mouth went dry. She was asking for permission. Not forgiveness. And I think that's what cut the deepest. I didn't answer her right away. I just nodded like a coward and said I needed to think. I sat on the edge of our bed that night, staring at her favorite houseplant, wondering if even it would have walked out on me by now. The next morning, while she was out on her run, I brewed a pot of coffee I didn't drink, stared at the floor tiles for almost an hour, and finally left her a response. Not in a note. Not through yelling. Just a folded paper on her side of the bed with a title written in red ink. Pick one. I gave her 2 options. 2 choices that made her smile fall off her face like shattered glass. And she picked one. What she didn't know, was that I already knew something she didn't. Something she would never have guessed in a million years. And that's where this story really begins. She came back from her run like nothing had changed. Her cheeks were flushed, her earbuds still dangling from her hoodie, and she tossed her keys into the bowl by the door the same way she always did. I watched her from the hallway like a stranger in my own life, half expecting her to wink at me, laugh, say something dumb like, "What's for breakfast?" and pretend our conversation the night before had just been a bad dream. But she didn't. She looked at the bed, saw the white envelope resting neatly against her folded pajama top, and froze. She knew I'm not the dramatic type. I don't leave surprise notes or ultimatums. So that envelope. That wasn't romance. That was declaration. She sat down slowly, like she was about to defuse a bomb, and read the words I had typed out in the early morning hours. I didn't handwrite it. I wanted it to feel clinical. Detached. Like a report you get from your doctor before the word irreversible is mentioned. I didn't give her threats. I gave her a mirror. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper with 1 sentence at the top. You wanted freedom. I want clarity. Then came the 2 options. Option 1, she gets her one night with whoever she had in mind, but in doing so, she agrees to dissolve our marriage quietly. No shouting. No begging. I'd even handle the paperwork. We'd divide things civilly. No war. Just exit. Option 2, she gets her one night, but with full transparency. Meaning, I would be present. Not involved. Just watching. Every moment of her liberation, I'd witness in real time, knowing full well what it meant. And we would live with that knowledge, side by side, forever. She stared at the paper like it was written in another language. Her hands shook. She asked me if I was serious. I didn't say a word. I just picked up my mug, left the room, and let the silence fill every crack between us. For the next 2 days, we barely spoke. She was distant, but not remorseful. Curious, I'd say. She wasn't angry. She wasn't crying. She was thinking, and that scared me more than if she had screamed. Then, last night, she came into the kitchen while I was rinsing dishes and placed the folded paper back in front of me. There was a red pen mark next to option 2. She chose it. I don't want to lose us, she said. But I still want to feel that thrill again. Just once. If you really need to be there, okay. I laughed. It wasn't a strong laugh. It was one of those dead, empty ones that sound like air escaping a balloon. She looked confused, maybe even hurt. She asked, "Wait, what's so funny?" I leaned on the counter and asked, "Who is he?" She blinked. That doesn't matter. Wrong answer. I told her I knew. Of course I knew. I'd known for weeks. The receipts. The late-night texts. The sudden need for new perfume, a gym membership she didn't use, and a second email account she thought I'd never notice. It wasn't about freedom. It was about permission to continue. What she wanted wasn't a one-night pass. She wanted absolution. Clean guilt. A way to dip both feet into betrayal and call it honesty. And I gave her exactly what she asked for. Now we have a date on the calendar. A location. A time. She thinks she's in control. But what she doesn't know is, so do I. The moment she marked option 2, I knew I wasn't dealing with the woman I married 11 years ago. Jenna used to cry at sad commercials and couldn't sleep if we argued even a little. But this version of her? She stood in our kitchen sipping water while planning an intimate night with another man, while I watched. And the most chilling part? She looked relieved. As if I had granted her some permission she was afraid to ask for but secretly hoped I'd give. I don't know what kind of twisted fantasy she was clinging to, but the spark in her eyes wasn't love. It was adrenaline. She was getting her fix, and I was her audience. She left the room with a strange sense of peace, like the weight of her desire had been lifted. I didn't follow. I just stared at the fridge, where that stupid napkin from our first meeting still sat under a faded magnet that says, "Choose kindness." Ironic now. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called him. Yes, him. Because I wasn't blind. And I wasn't stupid. Jenna thought she was being clever, but you can't erase patterns with perfume and vague excuses. His name is Milo. Yeah. Milo. Her friend from the gym, she insisted was just helping her with stretching routines and nutritional advice. I'm not kidding. That was her story. He answered on the second ring. I introduced myself. There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear the breath catch in his throat. Like he knew immediately who I was and what this call meant. I told him I knew about the affair, or whatever name they wanted to dress it up in, and that I wasn't calling to threaten him. I wasn't going to yell. I just wanted him to know that Jenna had asked for one night, and that she chose option 2. I'd be there. As a witness. And that if he had even a shred of integrity, he'd walk away now. He didn't hang up. He didn't curse me out. He just said something that still rattles around in my skull. If she picked that option, then it's already too late. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Too late for what? For me to change her mind? For him to walk away? Or for the life I thought I had to ever come back? I didn't respond. I just ended the call and sat in my car outside the post office for 40 minutes watching people pick up their mail like their world was still intact. Mine was hanging by a thread. That night, Jenna acted like nothing happened. She curled up next to me on the couch, watching some crime documentary like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in our relationship. I couldn't look at her. Every time she reached for my hand, I wanted to pull away, but I didn't. I sat there, holding the hand of someone who was actively planning a night with another man, while I'd be there, watching. The level of emotional insanity that required. I can't explain it. I'm not even sure how I kept breathing. But I did. And then I made my own plan. Because if Jenna wanted transparency, she'd get it. Full transparency. I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in 6 years. Someone who had every reason to hate me. Someone who knew Jenna long before I did. I told her everything. And she told me something that turned my spine into ice. Milo wasn't Jenna's first. Not even close. She'd been doing this, for years. And she always made sure her husband never found out. Until now. I didn't sleep that night. I don't even think I blinked. My body was horizontal on the bed beside her, but my mind was pacing in circles, screaming in a language I didn't understand. She slept like a stone. No guilt. No hesitation. Just peace. As if she had filed away her guilt and tagged it as handled. But I wasn't at peace. I was unraveling. The woman I called was named Lydia. You won't find her on any of our holiday cards, and she was never tagged in our anniversary photos. In fact, she and Jenna hadn't spoken in over 6 years. But back then, they were inseparable. College roommates, childhood best friends, the whole thing. Until suddenly, they weren't. I reached out through an old email I found buried in Jenna's archived threads. I didn't expect a reply. I certainly didn't expect one within 20 minutes. Lydia asked if we could talk. Not text, talk. I gave her my number. She called me immediately. And she didn't hold back. According to Lydia, Jenna had a pattern. Not a habit, a system. A careful, calculated routine she developed shortly after our 3rd wedding anniversary. It always started the same way: stress, burnout, emotional distance, followed by Jenna convincing herself she needed something liberating to feel whole again. But it wasn't just one guy. There was Travis, her coworker at the marketing firm where she briefly worked. Then Drew, a bartender she used to hang out with when she joined a women's meetup group. And apparently even Levi, who lived on our street for 2 years. She'd always find a way to sanitize it, justify it to herself: it's just one time, we're emotionally broken anyway, I'm not cheating, I'm surviving. And the worst part? Lydia had found out the truth the hard way. One night, she caught Jenna bragging to a mutual friend at a bachelorette party, drunk, careless, laughing about how Everett never has a clue. That's me, by the way. I'm Everett. The clueless, faithful, boring husband who folds laundry and sings off-key in the kitchen. Lydia confronted her. Jenna denied it at first. Then, when pressed, she got defensive. Said Lydia was jealous. That she was projecting. That Everett was safe but suffocating, and what she did was no different than taking a break to go find herself. They fought. Lines were crossed. Words were said that couldn't be unsaid. And that was the end of their friendship. Lydia told me she always wanted to warn me but didn't know how. She didn't want to destroy my life or sound crazy. But when she got my message, she said it felt like the universe was finally giving her the chance to set things right. I hung up and sat on the edge of my bed, the bed sheets bunching around me like a noose. I looked at Jenna's sleeping face, her peaceful little smile, her hair spread across my pillow like she owned it all, and something inside me snapped. Not in anger. In resolve. This woman, this stranger I had been married to, had rehearsed this deception so well that she believed it was her right. She had turned freedom into a weapon. She dressed infidelity up in empowerment and assumed I'd fold, like I always did. Like the safe little husband who never asks too many questions. But this time, I had answers. And a plan. I wrote a letter that night. Not to Jenna, but to myself. A reminder. A vow. Because I knew, deep down, that the moment I sat and watched her walk into that hotel room with Milo, I wouldn't be able to come back from it unless I had already let go. Let go of the illusion. The napkin memories. The Tuesday flowers. The way she used to squeeze my hand in the movie theater. I had to bury it all before she walked in and took a sledgehammer to what little remained. And then I booked a room at the same hotel. 2 floors above hers. What she didn't know was that someone else would be joining me there. Not a lover. Not revenge. A witness. And she brought a camera. The air in the hotel room felt stale, even though I had just checked in. Everything was beige and generic, like the kind of place people go when they want to do something wrong but still feel comfortable doing it. The carpet smelled like cheap cleaning chemicals and regret. I sat on the edge of the bed, fully clothed, watching the digital clock change minutes like they were taunting me. 6:14. 6:15. 6:16, downstairs, she would be arriving soon. Jenna thought she was in control of this story. She believed she had power because she asked permission. She thought by handing me her infidelity in a labeled, ziplocked package, it would somehow make it cleaner. Less painful. Like honesty neutralized betrayal. But she didn't know I'd been gathering evidence for weeks. She didn't know Lydia had sent me screenshots, texts between her and Milo, time-stamped, some of them so detailed I couldn't finish reading. I didn't want revenge. That's not who I am. But I wanted truth. And if I couldn't get it from her mouth, I'd get it from the lens of a camera. That's why I brought Sierra. Let me explain. Sierra is a private investigator. Yes, I know how that sounds, like something out of a trashy drama. But I hired her because I didn't trust myself. I knew that when Jenna crossed that line, I wouldn't be strong enough to record it. I didn't want to be in the room. I couldn't handle watching the woman I loved pretend I didn't exist. So Sierra agreed to do it. Legally. Professionally. No sketchy hidden mics or backdoor schemes. Just truth, filmed plainly. 2 floors below, Jenna was meeting Milo in room 428. We knew this because I asked her where they would be. She told me without blinking. She said it would make me feel more included. Included. That word haunts me. Like this was a group project. Like I was sitting at the table helping draw the blueprints to my own humiliation. But fine. If she wanted honesty, she would get it. Not just from me, but from herself, recorded forever. Sierra had checked in earlier. She posed as hotel staff and confirmed everything discreetly. She had already installed a small camera and a fake smoke detector. It wouldn't catch anything illegal, inappropriate, or graphic, nothing that would break any laws or YouTube guidelines. But it would catch enough. Enough to show who walked in. What they said. What they did. Enough to remove all doubt. No more gray areas. No more gaslighting. Just unfiltered evidence. And as I sat in room 624, clutching the remote I wasn't using and staring at my phone like it might bite me, I received the message. Sierra, they're here. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't reply. I didn't breathe. I just sat there, staring at the message, rereading it like it might somehow change on the third read. She was doing it. Right now. While I was upstairs, sinking into the mattress like it was quicksand, the woman I kissed every morning was walking into a hotel room with another man. A man who knew she was married. A man who knew I'd be aware. And she did it anyway. I don't remember standing up, but somehow I ended up by the window, gripping the curtain like it might hold me together. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch walls. I just went numb. I imagined her laugh echoing in that other room. The way she probably tilted her head when she was nervous. The way she touched the edge of her wine glass with her finger when she didn't know what to say. All the little things I used to love, now weaponized against me in real time. Sierra didn't message again. That was part of the plan. She would only contact me when it was done. So I waited. I waited as minutes turned into hours. And when the knock finally came at my door, I knew it wasn't room service. I opened it slowly. Sierra stood there, expression unreadable. She didn't say a word. Just handed me a small black flash drive and a folded note. I took both, hands trembling. And before I could say anything, she looked me in the eye and said, "You need to read that note first." Then she walked away. And I stood in the doorway with my entire marriage, every lie, every moment, every detail, compressed into a flash drive in one hand, and a note from my wife in the other. But it wasn't just any note. It was the real reason she chose option 2. And what she wrote inside shattered me more than the betrayal ever could. I held the note for a long time before opening it. My fingers wouldn't stop shaking, not out of fear, but anticipation. Or dread. Or some toxic mix of both. It was written on plain white paper, folded once, with my name on the front in Jenna's handwriting. That looping, soft script I used to love seeing on grocery lists and anniversary cards. It used to feel like home. Now it looked like the start of a death sentence. I sat back on the bed, staring at the flash drive like it was radioactive, and slowly unfolded the paper. It was only a few sentences. Short. Measured. But every word sliced deeper than the last. Everett. If you're reading this, then I know you went through with your plan. I knew about Sierra. I saw the email on your laptop last week. I didn't say anything because I knew you wouldn't stop me. Not really. You needed proof. You needed closure. I needed something else. I didn't choose option 2 to save our marriage. I chose it because I didn't want to lie anymore. I'm tired of pretending to want the life we built. You're not a bad man, Everett. You're just not the man I want anymore. I'm sorry for hurting you. I never wanted to be cruel. But maybe this is the only way we both finally see the truth. Goodbye. That last word wasn't crossed out. It wasn't smudged by tears. It wasn't softened with anything like, "love always," or, "forever yours." Just one clean, deliberate word, goodbye. It felt like being sucker punched by someone who smiled first. She knew. She knew everything. The camera. Sierra. The quiet trap I thought I was setting. And she let me go through with it, not because she was sorry, not because she was ashamed, but because she had already decided to leave. This wasn't about one night. That had never been the point. The one night was a distraction. A distraction to keep me looking at the flames while she walked out the back door of our life. She had already emotionally checked out. Probably months ago. Maybe longer. Maybe I'd never know when. I couldn't move for a while. I sat on that hotel bed, holding her note like it was a bomb that had already gone off. My phone buzzed, but I didn't look. I didn't care. It could have been Sierra. Milo. Jenna herself. None of it mattered anymore. Eventually, I opened my laptop and plugged in the flash drive. I knew I didn't have to watch it. I already had my answer. She was gone. The letter had said it all. But something in me needed to see it, to burn away the last pieces of denial still whispering that maybe, this was just a nightmare. The video was grainy. No audio. Sierra had promised it would be discreet, and it was. It showed the door to room 428. Jenna arrived first. She looked nervous, fidgeting with the hem of her dress. Then Milo showed up. They hugged awkwardly. There wasn't passion. Not even desire. Just resignation. They stepped inside. The door closed. And I hit pause. That's all I needed. I didn't need to see what happened next. It wasn't going to undo anything. What I saw was enough. Jenna wasn't running towards something. She was running from me. From the version of our life that she had outgrown. And here's the truth I wasn't ready to admit, I felt it too. For years. The way she stopped laughing at my jokes. The way she'd sleep closer to the edge of the bed. The way we made love out of routine, not passion. I thought it was just life. Marriage. Stress. But maybe it was death in slow motion. Still, knowing that didn't make it hurt less. I spent the next 3 hours in that room staring at the ceiling. No TV. No music. Just silence. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just existed in a space between two lives, one I thought I had, and the one I had to walk into now. And then, out of sheer instinct, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my brother. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly a decade. Not since the fallout. Not since the thing with Dad's estate that shattered everything. But in that moment, I needed someone who knew me before Jenna. Someone who remembered the version of me that hadn't yet become this. He answered. He said, "Is this really you?" And I broke. I didn't have to say a word. He just stayed on the line while I sobbed like a child, finally letting it all out. The betrayal. The shame. The self-hate. The weight of knowing I had tried so hard to save something that had been dead for years. And when I could finally breathe again, he said, "Come stay with me. For as long as you need. Just come home." Home. The word hit me in the chest like a brick. Because I realized, I hadn't had one in a very long time. I packed without thinking. There wasn't much to take, just the basics. A duffel bag of clothes. My laptop. The old photo of Mom and me from her garden that Jenna never let me hang up in the house. I left the wedding album on the shelf. Not out of anger, but because it didn't belong to me anymore. It belonged to a version of myself that died in room 624. When I pulled into my brother's driveway, it was still early. The sky was cracked open in soft pinks and oranges, the kind of sunrise you don't notice until you're standing in the middle of loss with nothing left to cling to. His house looked exactly the same as it did 10 years ago. That same chipped porch light. The same dent in the garage door from when we tried playing street hockey as kids. The only difference was the man who opened the door. Caleb. He looked older, of course. We both did. Life doesn't wait for apologies. But his eyes, they softened the moment he saw me, like a dam breaking slowly, not from pressure, but from permission. He didn't say anything. Just pulled me into a hug I didn't know I needed. We didn't talk about Jenna at first. Instead, we made coffee and sat in his kitchen while the dog, a sleepy golden retriever named Moose, curled up under my chair like he already knew I was broken. Eventually, Caleb cleared his throat and asked, "So, she really did it?" I nodded. He didn't ask for details. Didn't want them. He just sat back, hands folded, and said, "I always wondered when it would happen." I blinked. "Wait, what?" He hesitated. "I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I noticed things. Years ago. The way she looked at you when you weren't watching. Like you were a job. Not a partner. I didn't say anything because you always seemed happy. I wasn't, I admitted. Not really. I thought I was. But maybe I was just scared to admit that I wasn't enough." Caleb leaned forward. "You were enough. She just didn't want anyone to be." That line hit like a bullet. Because deep down, I knew he was right. Jenna wasn't searching for something she lacked, she was running from the idea of being still. Committed. Present. And no matter who stood in front of her, it would never be enough for long. Then, out of nowhere, Caleb said something that turned the entire story on its head. "There's something you should know. About Milo." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" He rubbed his jaw and looked away. I didn't want to say anything. "But when I saw you two at a Christmas party 3 years ago, remember the one at the venue downtown? I saw her talking to him in the hallway. Way too close. And the way she touched his chest, it didn't look like a first-time thing." I shook my head slowly. "You're saying it's been going on since then?" "At least," he said. "But that's not the part you need to hear." He reached into the drawer and pulled out an old manila folder, one of those ones people keep paperwork in, filled with dust and regret. Inside was a printed email. It was from Jenna. Sent to him. Dated almost 4 years ago. The subject line, "Can you do something for me?" I read it once. Then I read it again. In it, Jenna was asking Caleb to lie to me. To cover for her one weekend when she said she was visiting her cousin in Vermont. She asked him to tell me they had gotten drinks, that he crashed at her place, and that she was with a friend, going through a crisis. She said it was important, and that it had nothing to do with Everett. Caleb never replied. And he never told me. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. "I wanted to," he whispered. "But we hadn't spoken in years. After the stuff with Dad. I figured you wouldn't believe me. Or worse, you'd push me even further away. And I was scared, Everett. Scared that if I told you, I'd be the one tearing your marriage apart." But she was already doing that. He nodded, ashamed. "I know. And I'm sorry. Truly." We sat there in silence, the kind of silence that only exists between two people who should have talked sooner. And I realized something painful: everybody saw pieces of the truth before I did. Lydia. Caleb. Maybe even Jenna herself. I was the last to see it. Because I was too busy pretending things were fine. But now. Now I saw it all. The betrayal wasn't just about that hotel room. It was about years of manipulation. About everyone walking on eggshells while I played the fool in my own life. About the way she turned the idea of love into a bargaining chip. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like crying. I felt like waking up. Because while she was out there thinking she had broken me beyond repair, I was just beginning to rebuild. And soon, she would find out just how wrong she was. It's strange how someone can ruin you without lifting a finger, and yet the act of walking away, really walking away, can feel like the most powerful thing you've ever done. A week after I moved in with Caleb, Jenna texted me. It wasn't a long message. No apologies. No explanations. Just, "Can we talk?" I didn't think it would feel like this. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes, remembering all the times I waited for her to reach out when we were still together. All the times I sat alone on the couch while she worked late, wishing she'd just say something honest. And now, when the silence had finally become mine, not hers, she wanted to fill it again. I agreed to meet her. Not because I needed answers, but because I deserved to give one. We met in a small park not far from where we used to live. She looked tired, like life was catching up to her for the first time. I brought nothing. No bags. No ring. No hope. Just myself, finally whole in a way I hadn't been in years. She said, "I didn't expect to feel so lost." And I told her, gently but firmly, that's because for the first time, there's no one left to lie to. She tried to cry. I could see her pushing the tears to the surface, hoping I'd fold like I always did. But I didn't. I wasn't that man anymore. I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer. That I wouldn't drag things out. That I wanted peace, not punishment. And that I hoped someday, she'd understand what she really ran from. "But I still love you," she said, barely a whisper. And I smiled, not bitterly, not cruelly, but with the calm of someone who finally understood the difference between love and possession. "I believe you," I said. "But it doesn't matter anymore." I left her standing there, in the same way she once left me, except this time, I wasn't broken. I was free. In the weeks that followed, I began rebuilding everything from scratch. Not just furniture or finances, but my identity. I started running again. Joined a local book club. I even helped Caleb fix that dented garage door. It wasn't perfect, and I still had days where the silence hit too hard, but it was my silence now. It didn't hurt. It healed. I finally put that photo of Mom up in my room. Right above my desk. And every time I look at it, I remember the boy I used to be before the world made me shrink. That boy is back now. Older. Wiser. But still full of heart. And Jenna? I don't hate her. I just don't need her anymore. Thanks for watching this story unfold. If you've ever been in a situation that felt impossible, I hope this helped you breathe a little deeper. And if you've ever let go of something that hurt, only to find yourself again, I hope you know how brave that really is. Comment below. What moment in this story shocked you the most, or made you reflect on something from your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more real, raw, and unforgettable stories just like this one. Until next time, take care of your heart. It's the only one you've got.